everybody.
And tonight we're doing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, number 5 in the Indiana Jones film series. I think there's a TV show, but we have to count that. These films, they're all, there's two that are kind of the same, and then there's two that are different, and then there's this one. So what do you think of these movies?
Two they're same, two they're different, and then there's this one. Yeah, I agree with that analogy.
And do you like any of the ones that are the same, the different ones?
I like the two that are the same. Like, I enjoy the odd numbered ones, so this one you would think would be currying my favor, right? I enjoy the original, of course, and then I like the one with him and his dad, Indiana Jones, and what is that?
The third one is Last Crusade.
Yeah, Last Crusade. Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. I like that. The second one was a big miss for me when it first came out. It was like, oh, this is just so bad compared to the first one. Really bad sophomore effort. And then 4 came out, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I like 2 better. I don't know. So it was going to be tricky. I knew that this one they were going to kind of do some justice to the character, I think is the point of it. But we'll have to go into it and see what happens.
Daredevil archaeologist Indiana Jones races against time to retrieve a legendary dial that can change the course of history, accompanied by his... I don't want to even say all that because that's going to be spoilers, so we're going to cut there.
Yeah. Okay.
6.9 on IMDb, 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, so a couple of 6.9s from the critics, and an 88% with the audience. So these are high, above Crystal Skull, and
I think
high
Rotten
audience
Tomatoes
scores.
is down to 50.
I'm looking at it right now. It says 69 as of our recording.
I saw something that was 50.
Okay. No, I'm seeing everything in the 6s and 6s, 7s, 8s, above average. This is getting moderately positive reviews, and it's getting not super great at the box office. I think it's just about at its budget back. So it's already been open a week and 2 weeks, so it's kind of sluggish. Disney having some concerns, box office stuff. Yep. But if you haven't seen Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, it's in theaters. Those are the things. 2.5 hours, behemoth. And we're going to spoil it here now. So, as the odd-numbered Indiana Jones do, we got to have Nazis. The other one's going to have weird alien stuff and ripping hearts out of people, monkey brains. But the odd number Indiana Jones movies, the bad guys are Nazis. He hates these
We're going
guys.
back to Nazis, yeah.
That's right. And so that means we're going to see some old school 1944 stuff, which means a lot of de-aged Harrison Ford, de-aged Mads Mikkelsen, who's our main antagonist, de-aged Toby Jones, who is the old scientist friend. There's always some... He's not supposed to be a recast or a repeated character, right? He's just one of the many, Indy, welcome to my town kind of people that he meets along the way, right?
Yeah, he's a new... I mean, he was an archaeologist, so they probably ran in the same circles, but we don't know him up until now.
He's not like there's like the John Hurt in the other ones. There's a guy who comes back in this one from the first one, I think. Like, those guys where Indy, like, I'm going to show up in a town and I know just the person. And then he's like, oh, my friend, I haven't seen you since the... Yeah, exactly. Okay.
No, but Toby Jones plays the same kind of character that he plays in the Captain America, the First Avenger kind of movie. So it was kind of. What is going on here? And then he also is involved with a guy named Schmidt, who was part of, the Nazi regime, and I'm like, this feels also familiar.
That is a good point. I didn't make all these Nazi Toby Jones connections, but continuing on, this movie takes place it starts off there, a nice 20-30 minutes, pretty big opening chunk of past stuff, where we learn about our MacGuffin, we're introduced to our couple of characters, and then we fast forward to 1969. This is 12 years after Crystal Skull, so... the way that one ended was him and Marion got back together, and Shia LaBeouf was their kid, and he went on an adventure. But that was kind of how they left it. And now we learn Marion is no longer in the picture. Shia LaBeouf's not around anymore. We learn what happened to him, and he's not doing well. When we are introduced to elderly Indiana Jones, it is looking like a low point. and then he runs into Helena, who is the Fleabag, and
Yep.
her Fleabag, and I don't know her name. I just call her. I know she's Fleabag.
Phoebe Waller-Jones. Phoebe Waller-Bridgers.
Phoebe Waller-Bridger is Fleabag, and she is old acquaintance of Jones. We learn is his goddaughter, Toby Jones's daughter in this. And she we learn is not kind of a bit of a rebel, not unlike Indiana and the father. She does her own thing, sells things illegally and whatnot, steals. And so this is all set up to chase the dial around. It's MacGuffin chasing of this dial that has mystical powers. And then the last half hour, we are, they tell us about the powers, but the last half hour we see what the powers do. And it goes in a direction that I haven't seen Indiana Jones go. And so, Mama Kay, what you think of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
Straight off the bat, it was too long. Like, this movie was too long. And I say that I think about a lot of movies, but a 2-hour movie is good for me. And not only that, I think if you have a story to tell, it's going to take 2.5 hours. That's fine. But they really stretched this story out way too long for me. And part of that was, continent jumping and country jumping, which generally, I really, really like. And
that's what you look for.
I don't dislike it, but I really did feel that we were, the storyline got, just, I don't know, diluted, a little bit lost. I love the character of Indiana Jones so much. It's so much so when you say Harrison Ford, you have to kill Han Solo or you have to kill Indiana Jones. I can't make that choice because I just can't. They're just both great for me. I grew up in the sweet spot of both of them. So this is an adored character for me, and I don't dislike being able to see him become, of age, even though we're talking of age being 30 plus years ago, 40.
Coming
40
of old age?
Yeah. Speaking of that, I don't know. It was too long, but it's still Indiana Jones. So there's that piece you have to be reverent of that I wasn't reverent of when I saw the second one. I didn't feel reverent at all. I felt just lambasted and mortified that they would do this to Indiana Jones. So
those were your thoughts on the fourth one? Just the Crystal Skull, absolute
Crystal
abomination.
Skull, yeah, it barely lives in my memory because, first of all, not a Shia LaBeouf fan, and the fact that I thought that the point of Crystal Skull was going to be to sort of hand over the mantle to his son, and maybe that was possibly the plan, but I think that just didn't land for, I don't know whether it was the storyline or it just didn't land for the audience wanting to have another, wanting to have Indiana Jones Jr.
It was not, Crystal Skull was not well received. It might have made money, but it was not. Yeah. No one it's a big joke. It's a joke of a movie. People don't like it.
Yeah, people do make fun of a lot of things in that. There's still memes that people recognize from that movie.
I don't think it's horrendous, personally. I think it's fine. I don't know. I think it's a shoulder shrug of a movie.
Yeah, but they went from 1 to 2, which was ugh, and then they went to 3, and 3 was good. I mean, 3 really harkened to the story of the first Indiana Jones, and it felt real. And so I was thinking this one would too. Maybe it's just that I do need Nazis in my movies, and that's what does it for me. But I don't know. I'm glad.
It's like the Fast and Furious movies. The odd ones of those are actually the good ones too. And those ones, I don't know why, but although for once, I also like Temple of Doom.
You also like. I think going back, I like the campiness of Temple of Doom because
it's different than all the other ones.
It's because it's so dark and it's not. It's about, child labor, and you can see children getting beaten on screen. That just feels really wrong to me, back then and even now. But it also, looking back now, though, all of that feels campy. Like, it feels like...
Yeah, that's why I like Temple of Doom. In it's the darkest, but the silliest. Like, it takes itself the least seriously, but it's the most, it does the most crazy stuff. Yeah, I like the
Yes.
rope bridge and the heart ripping and the miniature
When they're in the mining train.
carts. Yeah, I just like to do even like stupid stuff that people hate, like the raft falling out of the plane. Like I like the inventiveness in that one more. That one feels like a serial adventure, where the other two are good movies, but it makes it like I feel like if Indiana Jones, the promise is old adventure serials, there should be like it should be like James Bond, except there should be 20 of them, and they should all be like Temple of Doom, where they're all standalone. Whereas, like, Indiana Jones kind of fights Nazis. I never thought that that's what his character was supposed to be.
Apparently, that's what his character is, and he.
I thought he was supposed to be Adventure Man,
1969. Well, he's at his best when he's fighting Nazis, and so in this movie, Apparently. Is he at his best? We're talking about a Nazi though in 1969 as opposed to a Nazi in 1944. So. I mean, they explain how he, the fact that he's still a Nazi in 1969 makes sense in the realm of this film, but it's I don't know, it's very adventure-y. There's lots of action. There's a lot of action. There's just the storyline is so thin that it needed to be shorter and it needs to be punchier. I don't know why don't I love this?
Because this movie is Dullsville. It's fucking
It's
snooze
so
fest.
boring.
It's so boring. It sucks.
It's so boring.
I don't know how this has 69 is just like astronomically high. Like maybe it's just a bunch of everyone's just giving it like 3 stars kind of thing, and like enough of that is because it's not offensively stupid like Crystal Skull, but like where that has stuff like he gets in a fridge and like thinks he can survive a nuclear explosion. Like that's Temple of Doom level silliness. I don't know. I kind of like that. This is just fucking so boring. I can't tell you any action scene that happened. They just I didn't give any care on this.
Everything blended, and that didn't. And I don't know that any of the like new characters like. And before, when he was fighting Nazis, he wasn't just fighting Nazis. He was fighting like the whole Nazi regime, and maybe that's part of it. It was like back then he's fighting this whole big, the huge big bad, and in this it's kind of just a guy and his henchmen. It's not really. There's everybody else is in the streets fighting against the war in Vietnam and things like that, and he's just fighting this old Nazi dude. It just doesn't feel like it has any. It's boring. it's
boring because I don't believe anything I'm watching. Like I don't buy it. I have to like care, because for an action scene to be interesting, you have to want. There has to be an element of risk. So either someone's going to die or an item is going to get lost. If they're chasing someone to get a thing. Oh no, is the thing going to fall and get lost? Oh, we're going to get split up. There needs to be consequences. And like when we're chasing through the streets of wherever, and when we're at the beginning on the fighting on the train, and I don't care about I don't know if it's the CGI Indy at the beginning. It looks fine, but I'm looking at this guy and I'm hearing him talk, and it doesn't, like, I know it looks like him, but it sounds like 80-year-old Harrison Ford.
It sounds like 80-year-old Harrison Ford, yeah.
And then when I'm watching Harrison Ford run around, and I'm just like, it's hard. It's like when you're watching Liam Neeson in Taken 3, you always point out the fence scene where they have to do like 58 cuts to make him climb a fence because he can't make it look real.
Maybe that is the real problem, is that because you don't have, you don't have an action star that can make it look real without having such, without having to take such cinematographic license, that it just doesn't play.
That's the same problem with the first of the old Indiana Jones movies, is that Indiana Jones' character he's Adventure Man. He punches people and he swings around. He's super smart. He knows all his languages. All the women love him, and he's got good looks. He's got a hat and a whip and a cool coat, and so that's Indiana Jones. And when you see that guy and he's 70 and he's yelling at people in his apartment, I mean, that's a different. It's just not the same. One of my favorite scenes of the movie, but like that's not the same guy. That's not like, when you don't want to watch that guy in an action scenes and not have it's not played like a madcap comedy. It's played straight like any other Indiana Jones movie. So it just
right.
I'm like, really? These 50 guys can't catch him? Like, this guy's dodging bullets and running around and climbing wall. He even says it at one point. He's like, I'm fucking 80. Why am I climbing this wall right now? Like, why are you climbing this wall right now? Like, why did we make all this? We didn't need to make this.
That's the thing is, what were we doing here? Like, what did we have to do this? What was the?
It's not even making money. It's not. What is the purpose of this? It's just taking up space and screens and time. It but
it makes me sad too. It's doing more than just taking up space and screens. It's making people sad.
That's the thing is, I wasn't horribly miserable watching this. There were parts. No. It kind of chugged. It kind of sputtered, like trying to start a car. And like the first half hour, I kind of checked out. When we start with the 20 minutes of stuff, I'm just like, it looks fine.
It's 40s, not 20s.
Yeah. Sorry, 20 minutes. I meant 20 minutes of the...
20 minutes. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the first 20 minutes is what I meant. Yeah.
Okay.
When we're doing all that, like, I don't really... In the first couple of minutes, I realized, like, okay, this isn't really for me. They're just setting up the stuff. And I see young Mads Mikkelsen. I'm like, okay, there's your bad guy. Easy. Like, I get it. And I'm just not really enjoying the banter. Like, it's not funny or witty like I would maybe expect in Indiana Jones. And then they're fighting on the train. And it looks okay, I guess. But, like, I don't really... There's no stakes. Like, I'm like, okay, Toby Jones isn't going to die here. They de-aged him, so he's going to come back later. I know Indiana Jones isn't going to die. The Nazis are all going to die except for Mads Mikkelsen, who's not going to die. And we're chasing around a dial of destiny, and it's got 2 pieces, and that's the whole thing. Okay, I think that doesn't matter. And then we get to modern, in quote, modern day, 1969, and we got old man Indiana Jones sitting in a chair, and he's grumpy, and he's making his instant coffee, and I'm like, all right. I'm kind of, this is where I'm like, oh, engine's starting. I'm starting to be on board. I haven't seen Indiana Jones be so miserable and pathetic. This is going to be kind of fun. I would like to see, keep it down. Like, kind of Clint Eastwoody, transformation. He used to be the man with...
He's now the mule. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. He went from Man in the Day to Gran Torino or whatever. Like, that's what's going on here. So, and then I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool. And then we got Fleabag showing up. I don't watch that show, but she is charming and funny in the commercials for that show.
And you should watch that show because it's great.
It seems like a Mama K show, so I expected that.
Totally is.
And like, she's talking to him, and it's kind of okay. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like it's like it's moderately amusing, but never like getting me good. Like but okay, it's fine. And then it just kind of keeps going along. It just keeps kind of going. They keep going places. And she keeps taking stuff, and he chases her around, and then they're together, and then the guy's chasing her, and then there's like 4 different goons. One's got a peg leg, you got a crutch, and one's got glasses, and like all the different Mads Mikkelsen goons. Like, I don't just give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm watching this, I'm like, I don't care. I'm just kind of waiting for us to get to the point.
She has a sidekick that's like the older short round. So
yeah, she's got her own short round or whatever. Indiana Jones always had like a young whatever kid sidekick something around.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just boring as hell. It's just so boring to all of it. Everything
and
until the crazy. It's just nothing.
We're not. I can't talk about this until we get closer to the end. But yeah, I agree. I want to be in Indiana Jones's world, but like you said, it's just too unbelievable that this is happening for him in 1969. And the fact that I have a hard time believing that he's just got the knowledge of this half of Dial of Destiny just sitting in some old, library of old shit somewhere, waiting for somebody to be interested in pursuing it again. Like, what has he done in these 25 years?
Well, he's still a professor. We see that. I mean, he is still in a class, and again, he just no longer gives. This is like he's
retiring.
He's always retiring.
Yeah. Well, this time they gave him a clock. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. They all clap for him, and he's in. See, I like all this because now he's like he feels like an old man out of time. He doesn't feel like the character anymore. But I don't really know what Indiana Jones again. I described him earlier. He's a very superficial character. He's not like he doesn't arc like really. Maybe Last Crusade, I guess you could say he does, but like he's not really. That's not really what he does. He's action man.
Yeah, he's the lone gunman. He's by himself. He's one of those. He's a person that doesn't need other people ever.
Like, so I feel like in the other ones, like in Indiana Jones movies, like you laugh at stuff. It's fun. Like when the guy's spinning the sword around, and he shoots him. It's funny. And then when he's in the jungle and he cuts the ropes and he swings and the alligators get the guys. It's played for laughs. But like I could see the moments of that in this movie where they're like trying to get you to get a laugh in there. I'm just like, oh, it's clunk.
Well, I think what they're doing
clunking all over the place.
They're just hearkening back. They're leaving Easter eggs for these past movies that he's been in. Like you were talking about the whip and the gun, or the sword and the gun, and this one he has a
they do that.
And he has a knife or whatever. I don't even know what he has now, but everyone else has guns.
Well, he had his whip, and he was whipping it around the room, and then they all pulled their guns on him, and it has the beat, and he like pauses, and then he ducks down, and they all start shooting, and that was like, honestly, that was one of the better bits. Like that was on the top half.
It was.
Even that's kind of a shoulder shruggy. Like, if that was in there, that'd be fine. But that shouldn't be on the top half of your bits. That's not a good sign.
No, and then to have Sulla come back. I mean, I've always wanted Sulla to come back. And play.
Give him hell, Indiana Jones. Like, I should feel, not.
Because they don't bring it, because they can't function together like they used to because they're
fucking 1,000 years old. I know, it's not believable.
40 years. It's 40 years later. You can't have, you want to have people going, oh, this is great. And instead I'm like, no. Instead I leaned over and I'm like, dude, I totally thought John Rhys Davies was dead. This must be all CGI because I think he's dead. Spoiler alert, he's not dead. But I was convinced that he was already dead, and that's why he hadn't come back in any of the other Indiana Jones ones. So, it was. There are things that are supposed to play in there that are supposed to like tug at your heartstrings and make you think of, fond moments of Indiana Jones past, and it just makes me think of, oh my god, he's gotten so old, and how am I also as old now because I have as many years as between the time they made the first one and now.
That's true. It's true.
I'm not saying I'm 80 because I'm not 80, which would be an interesting feat, honestly. But
before we get to the 30-minute end, because they do. I think we talked about it offline. Like you saw it with your husband, my father, of course, who is we've said before, an undiscerning moviegoer. He likes 95% of movies, and that's pretty much all. It was good. Yeah, I liked it. Like very very generic thumbs up kind of guy, and he said something about how it was too supernatural or too much at the end, and we were saying, well, I'm sure there is. You had seen it and I hadn't. And I was saying, well, there's always supernatural. Like there's the Ark of the Covenant sucks them up, and tons of stuff in Temple of Doom, and the third one's Grail, and then the Alien. The fourth one's a little crazy, where the saucer comes out of the. But that's always a little bit. They don't ever go over the top, too crazy, like they don't do anything. Oh no, we've decided to throw that away. We've decided to go so mythical and magical that I didn't think. I was almost like, it's been 2 hours and you've pretty much wasted most of my time, and I was almost like, all right, I'm gonna come back around. But even then, the shock wore off quickly and I was bored quickly. The end. Do you want to describe this? What happens? What the third act of this movie is?
You said that they wasted your time, but in reality, time is just a construct, right? So you could actually go back to the time before you went into the movie theater and make the choice not to go into the movie theater. So this movie gives you that opportunity to do that. This is part of the part that I really didn't like about. It's not that I don't like the mystical parts of these movies. I sometimes forget that they exist, but this one is just too trite and telling, and everything has to. How did this happen this way? So what happens at the end is that they wind up getting the two parts together because Indy and Helena go scuba diving, and they find a map that leads them to the tomb of Archimedes. And when they get to the tomb of Archimedes, he's there and he's got this wristwatch, foreshadowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he also has the other piece of the Dial of Destiny. Now they have the whole thing, and they're gonna I don't know, she's gonna sell it. I don't know what's gonna happen at this point, but anyway, they have it. So the Nazi guy wants it. So he has it now, and Mads Mikkelsen has it, and they get in this airplane. Indy is now hurt. He's been shot, I think, and she winds up getting on the airplane.
Plane at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they get on this airplane. He's decided that they're going to make a rip they're going to cause this rip in the space-time continuum so that they can get through to get back to 1939 so that the Nazis can win the war. That's the whole
Mads Mikkelsen
reason for this movie in a nutshell.
He basically thinks Hitler was a shitty Nazi leader, and he's like, I could do better. Like that's his. I mean, it's a new twist on the Take Over the World arc. I've seen the Take Over the World arc, but this is a new twist on going back to stop Hitler.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of people have wanted to go back and stop Hitler, but never for these reasons. So.
I know, that's why it's almost like, you meet Mads Mikkelsen, you think he's like a nebbish scientist, and then as the movie goes on, you slowly learn that he's like the worst dude ever, but...
Right. He's worse than Hitler, right?
Is he successful in going back and stopping Hitler?
Well, he's not, because they've forgotten about I forget what it's called. Like, all I can think of is like cloud cumulus of something or another, and
he forgot to carry the one, whatever.
What's that?
He forgot to carry the one,
basically, and they go back instead to the time of Archimedes, which. Wow, I mean, if you're not going to go back to 1939, you're definitely going to hit the time of Archimedes, right? Because that serves your purpose
during
in the plot.
During another giant battle that happens to be happening. I mean, these are coincidences we can overlook, I suppose, but
no, we can't, because it's too trite for me. And they wind up in this other battle where the battling people are, they're before any sort of real weaponry, and so when they see an airplane, they think it's a dragon. So they're going to shoot it down. Anyway, yeah. So there's a crash. The Nazis die. Indy and Helena survive, but Indy's hurt. Looks like mortally, maybe, right? I'm thinking, I don't know what's going to happen at this point, honestly. Did you?
Well, I thought there was a possibility he was going to stay behind and like help, and then you find out. I thought it was going to go so stupid where you find out that like Indiana Jones is responsible for like technological advancements and stuff because he helped. Like there's going to be some like ancient statue of him in a museum, like this unknown philosopher assisted, and we don't know much. And then she smiles and puts his hat on his bust in a museum, and it's like it belongs in a museum. Why didn't we do that?
I mean, I feel like if this were a choose your own adventure, that might have been the path I would have taken. Because as it was, everything does get changed. The whole thing is like, no, Indy, you can't stay here. Things will happen. History will be changed. I'm like, well, history. And then if you were down there and you saw that Archimedes had a wristwatch.
Well, I think the point of that was that this always happened. Like Indiana Jones was always like in this world. Indiana Jones always went back in time and delivered a wristwatch to Archimedes so that it would be in his tomb. When we're watching Last Crusade and Temple of Doom, Archimedes is laying in that tomb right there with that wristwatch because, Indiana Jones is going to go deliver it to him.
Oh my God. Well, okay, so it changes everything, right?
It's like Darth Vader making C-3PO. Why would that happen? It doesn't make any sense. Why would Darth Vader build a protocol droid?
And there was nobody while they were writing this going, guys, listen.
No one ever checks their work in these movies. You've seen these movies. No one checks their work.
No one because they don't want to. They don't want to be like, oh, wait, no, okay, never mind. Just keep writing. So, yeah. So
this movie says I think 4 credited writers, and I don't know how much. I don't know how much, if at all, George and Spieley. I'm guessing they're probably not involved anymore. But
executive producers, right? So they're just
I could see George Lucas showing up to a meeting, being like, "Well, what about if they go back in time and they fight the Romans?" And then they're like, "No, George," but they kept it.
It can happen. I had a moment there when I was watching it that I felt like I was on the ride at Disney World where it's in the giant space ball, the space.
Spaceship Earth.
The ball. Yeah, Spaceship Earth. I felt like I was kind of in that. And I'm like, if you rode that backward, where you go backward and then you meet Archimedes, at the beginning of the ride, at the end of the ride instead of at the beginning. It's kind of what it felt like to me. I was like, oh, this is so
It felt like sci-fi original movie because it's not that because it looked bad. Like I looked at it and it's not like I was like, it didn't look bad. It was just it just wasn't right. It just everything felt wrong and not believable and fake. Not because it visibly did. It just because it just didn't feel coherent. The Nazis flying around with all the ships in the water, and it just doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't feel. It's like a fan movie. It doesn't even feel like a real movie.
No, and people are getting. I mean, the ships are getting the airplane is getting wrecked by these giant arrows that are being shot at them, and I'm like, I totally expect to see, I don't know, like Hawkeye or somebody coming around the corner with, I got you, get it's crazy looking.
I should be liking all this because I like when I'm bored as hell. I just want anything to happen in a movie, and I like when it goes off the rails. It's not unlike when we see old Indiana Jones and he's grumpy. I'm like, oh, we're actually gonna go back in time, and I'm like, oh, he did it, and then not only do we not go, we go back in time, but we go to the wrong place, and now we're in you could. And I'm watching this and like, why did we just make this the movie? Why didn't we do this in the first 20 minutes and then why didn't we have all the running around and chases instead of happening in modern day? Why aren't they happening in the Roman streets during this battle and then they have to find the original? That's, if you're gonna be this stupid by the end anyway, just be this stupid the whole time and then maybe I'll at least have been engaged.
Well, and also maybe they could have just dropped the telephone booth from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure right in that whole set and just, done the whole thing up just right.
Is it the same studio that owns?
I have no idea, but that would be funny. It's like, it was just so, and also it had shades of Night at the Museum, all of that. It all felt like all of that.
That's what made it feel not there's something about this that feels, and maybe it's James Mangold made this, who's an exceptionally accredited director. He's made all kinds of real things, but it doesn't feel. It feels incongruous with everything. Even where Crystal Skull didn't feel like the first 3, it still felt like an Indiana Jones movie. This just doesn't feel like. It feels like a fake movie. It feels like
it does.
It doesn't feel real.
And it honestly feels like 4 people wrote this movie. Now that you say it that way, I feel like I watched 4 different pieces of movies. Every time they went to a new continent or a new, time in the past, it all felt totally different than the last time. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, I need more. I don't need more movie because I definitely don't need more movie, but I need more continuity for things to make sense to me with what these characters are doing. I don't mind the last sequence though. I really don't. I think that's okay. The final, the denouement, the ending, hopefully.
What do you mean? He awakes in the apartment and then. Yes. And he sees Marion one more time?
Well, she comes back to take care of him. I think that they're going to stay together. I don't think that... Yeah, we find out that their son, I want to call him
Muffler. Muffler Jones.
Not Mutt. Is it Mutt?
It is. His name is Mutt.
Okay, Mutt. Yeah, that he was killed in the Vietnam War, which is what is going on sort of presently, so this has to be a fresh thing, and they're getting a divorce, and that's what's happening that makes him I guess hit rock bottom when we see him after the first 20-minute segment. So she comes back to take care of him, and Helena's there. Is her sidekick there?
I don't remember.
I feel like yes. I feel like there's another person in the room. And anyway, we just get to see that little last bit of them together, and they do a throwback to when to the first Indiana Jones when they're on the ship and he's been hurt a lot, and they do this, where doesn't it hurt, and then here, and they kiss those spots, and then they end up kissing, and then the movie's over. He takes his hat, and the movie's over.
And it does the Babe thing where it does this zoom in circle on the hat, and before it goes out.
The Babe thing. I love that you call it that.
I'm sure other movies do, but the thing where they zoom in and it's all and everything around, and it goes into just a little circle, and it just zooms in right there. That's what they do in the chapters in Babe. They zoom in on the one on whatever. Yeah,
it's usually the blind mice. So.
It's the Babe filming technique, as they call it. The George Miller. Babe. I don't know.
That's what it's called.
The first one. Yeah. Yeah. So more Indiana Jones, I guess. What more can he do? He literally can't move anymore, and he what's
no more Indiana Jones.
You want to see Phoebe Fleabags go around and do things with her with short round? Medium
I don't
round?
trust her. No, because I don't trust her. She's not a trustworthy character, because you say that she's like Indiana Jones and like her dad, but she's not. She sells these things. She's like the bad people from the first Indiana Jones, not the Nazi guy, but the French guy who goes around finding things and selling.
Belloc.
Belloc, yeah, she's like him. So I don't think so. I don't think I want to see that. I like her, but I don't think I want to watch that. I certainly don't want to watch her with her sidekick. Always love a John Williams score, so that's fine for me.
How's that dude still going?
Soundtrack a little bit, yeah. But
was he 90, 92, 91? 91, my lord.
Yep.
That is absurd.
Yeah.
Any other notes for the Dial of Destiny?
Not the Dial of Destiny, no.
You gotta recommend Indiana Jones? Indiana Jones?
I'm not. I can't, and because I want to, because I love this character so much, but I can't. It doesn't pick itself up after Crystal Skull, and anybody who didn't like Crystal Skull, they're not gonna like this movie.
Why's it got a 69% critic, 88 audience score?
Because of people love Indiana Jones the character.
I just don't know how you could watch this movie and feel anything at all. I don't know how you could
It was a bummer. It was a bummer for me to not feel good about it.
It was the same feeling as when I just have something on and I've been doing chores and I just go sit down and just stare at it. And I don't really know what's going. I don't really care. I just get up and walk away, and I come back and it's still on. I'm like, I feel like it's still the same thing on. This is probably my least favorite Indiana Jones movie. I did not like this at all. My expectations were not high either. They were I saw 69% and I was expecting to be Crystal Skull level, where I was I didn't really like that, but some stuff was silly enough where I was like, guys, okay. And every time this movie wanted to start doing that, every time it was old man Indiana Jones hobbling out, or every time it would tell a thing and it'd be maybe that for a second, it would immediately the Indiana Jones flying around in the battle with Nazis, that, you tell me that, and I'm like, there's no way that can't be so bad it's good. When but I was so bored watching them fly around in the Roman times. It shouldn't be that way. That shouldn't be boring. It takes work to make it boring. That's.
I'm starting to feel, not starting to feel, but I am fully engrossed in the franchise slump that's happening right now. And it's really bothersome for me.
Yeah, franchises are they're just... TV belongs on TV. We have good TV now, so if you want to watch TV, there's plenty of TV. It's not for me, but if people want to go watch good TV, there's plenty of it. But, once you go past 3 movies, you're not really... I think it's a Martin Scorsese thing. Once you go past 3 movies, you're not making cinema anymore, you're making television.
Ooh.
So... Stop making your TV shows. I don't know if I officially said it. I do not recommend this. This is my least favorite one. I don't like this. And I think rank yours because I think you're more spread apart too. Like I go like 1 small drop, 3 small drop, 2 small drop, 4 medium to big drop. This like the other 4 are all like I don't really. They're all kind of like 2.5 to 3.5 star movies for me. I don't love any of them, but they're all I like them all fine.
Yeah. So Me Today, which is that's what we're talking about. 1 small drop 3, big drop 2, bigger drop 4, same drop 5.
That's a 5's your least favorite too.
Yeah, I mean, yes. There's just less things that I like about it. Like, yeah, there are less pieces that I can, pull out that I like. So
if you had told me basically all the things, if you told me, give me the cast, told me all the things that happened in this movie, and given me the scores, I would have told you there's like 0 chance that I could have liked it less than Crystal Skull, but.
Then 4. Yeah.
It's lame. I don't reward lame. I do not. It's just. it's not. Again. Technically, there's nothing physical. Like I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's nothing like horribly bad. It just doesn't. It just feels so empty. There's nothing going on there. Empty.
I agree.
Two not recommends for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Hurts my soul.
A big fat hiccup in our otherwise pretty steady stream of recommends, and hopefully we'll pick right back up because I think there's a couple more theater movies. There might be 1 or 2 more reviews before Barbieheimer time. So Barbie and Oppenheimer. I think we're gonna try to get all 4 of us on for Barbie. See who we can also come for Oppenheimer.
I would love to do a total Barbieheimer.
I would love to do
all at once. That would be amazing.
We might need. I mean, we would probably need an intermission. I'll talk to Jess. She's the only one who we need to convince. Nicole will do it for the gimmick. So.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
we just start taping and we just keep Jess on like she saw the movie and just go with that. And at some point she'll just be like, okay,
she
guys,
won't even know what it is. We will literally be on the show.
I think it would be hilarious.
We'll have talked about it all these times, a million ads. She'll have talked about it, and we'll be on the day of, and she'll be like, "I've never heard of Oppenheimer. Like, that's just not possible.
Well,
it's just literally not possible."
I had a contemporary ask me, "Who is this movie about?" And I was like, "I don't like that you asked this question to me."
Who's what movie? What's Oppenheimer about?
Right.
Oh my lord, Jesus!
Like not having an idea what the premise might be.
Not having idea. The education system has failed. That is
completely.
All right, well, Barbieheimer coming soon.
There's that.
If you have things to recommend to us, we'll probably get to it after that. Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook. Reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Brennan_podhost. And you can email the show, filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Thanks for being on for Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. Okay.
Welcome.
Till next time, Brennan signing off, saying thanks for listening and enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.